The Ruoff Mortgage 500 turned out to be the Ruoff Mortgage 500 for my betting card, and it might be time to mortgage the house in order to pay for some of these debts. We didn't hit either of our top 10s as Eric Almirola faded late on the last lap, finishing 12th, and Eric Jones once again crashed late, not coming near that top 10 mark. Denny Hamlin did not finish ahead of Chase Elliott and was once again kind of a middling car all day. Didn't come near winning the race at 9-1. And our best bet on the day, Christopher Bell to top 10, looked good late in the week as he once again performed better in qualifying than what was expected. But he ultimately spun out on lap 119, getting a flat. And in this year's NASCAR, that means multiple laps down. Oh well. We're on to the highly anticipated unveiling of the new Atlanta Motor Speedway for the Folds of Honor QuikTrip 500. So without further ado, here's my entire betting card for this race. To begin our betting card and a sign I'm just a glutton for punishment, I'm going with Ricky Stenhouse Jr. to top 10 at plus 115. We were spurned by Stenhouse back in Las Vegas, in which he received a late speeding penalty, causing him to finish outside the top 20. But during that race, he found himself running inside the top 10 near the end and actually led a couple of laps with just under 30 to go. Stenhouse has some pretty up and down results at super speedway type races, but he's routinely run near the top quarter of the field, just not really ever being able to avoid the big one. A lot of people are assuming this may be similar to that of Charlotte, and when looking at Stenhouse history there, we see 4 of the last 5 trips there have resulted in top 12 finishes, with 3 of those being top 10s. Anything over plus money this week at a track full of unknowns and who the expectation is should run like a super speedway is good bet to me. The next guy on my list is somebody who I'm hoping we see perform really well here, and that's Chris Buescher to top 10 at plus 270. With the assumption that this is going to race closer to that of Daytona and super speedway type racing, Chris Buescher to me at this number is the best value on the board. He was somebody I highlighted back at the Daytona 500 and somebody who was running inside the top 10, even inside the top 5 late in the race until his teammate and my arch nemesis Brad Keselowski actually wrecked him. And Buescher actually finished 10th last week at Phoenix. He hasn't been great this season, but he's been one of the middle of the road cars in terms of overall speed rankings, and he has 3 top 10s in his last 4 Charlotte events. Buescher is somebody who has the potential to compete at the top of the field, especially at these super speedway races, so getting him at a top 10 at almost 3-1 is a number I just cannot pass up. Moving to our driver matchup of the week, I'm going with one I feel is slightly underpriced, and that's William Byron to finish ahead of Kevin Harvick at minus 112. This year's results are quite deceiving as Kevin Harvick has been the better of the two, but Byron has been the best overall driver in terms of total speed at the 3 intermediate/super speedway races this year, and even while running 180 less laps than Kevin Harvick, has run 70 more laps inside the top 15 than the old man. This one is simply Hendrick versus Stewart-Haas, and if that is the case, Hendrick is the pick every single day. Moving along to our required weekly outright pick of the race, I will say that Kyle Larson at 10-1 is somebody that'll find himself on my betting cards, but I'm actually going with the co-favorite and somebody I've mentioned multiple times already this year, Ryan Blaney at the same number of 10-1. Blaney has simply been the best driver on the circuit this year. He leads the series in driver rating at over 104. He's been one of the fastest cars on track, leading the most laps this year, which is really interesting considering he's missed a total of 170 laps. But he's also run the highest percentage of laps inside the top 15, while leading 23.3% of all of his laps. Blaney at 10-1 any week is a good number, and is somebody I really like, especially if this drives like a super speedway. Moving along to our best bet, I'm going back to the top 10 market and going with the series' hottest driver, Ross Chastain at minus 110. Chastain has been fantastic the last 2 races and overall this season. He's finished the last 2 third and second. He has the average speed ranking of 10th at the 3 intermediates and super speedway races this year, and he's run 76% of all of his laps inside the top 15. He's peaking at the right time and entering a race in which nobody knows what's going to happen, and getting him at close to even money, especially knowing he's been driving as well as he has, seems pretty criminal to me. If you'd like to tail, or after what happened last week, fade any of my picks for the QuikTrip 500, or maybe even bet on the NCAA tournament, head over to FanDuel Sportsbook, where if you bet $5 on any March Madness game, you'll get $150 in site credit, win or lose. And of course, in the spirit of the recently passed St. Patrick's Day, I hope we're all seeing green this weekend on our betting cards. Good luck, and enjoy the race at the new Atlanta Motor Speedway.